Alright, so today I have a vehicle I'm going to be working on. This one happens to be a 1999 Mercury Mountaineer, which is the same as the Ford Explorer. And I know the 98s and the 99s were the same. I'm not sure how far back it goes. I think from about 96 on, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm sure someone will update me with the correct information. And here's the problem I'm having is the compass and temperature display is not working whatsoever. As you can see, it's got a totally blank screen right now. And if I go down here a little ways, you can see the radio is working. The climate control works just fine, as well as the multifunction display is working out no problem. So, about the temperature and the compass display, which is severely out of focus now for some reason. See if it'll refocus to it. Let's talk about removing this and repairing it. I don't think it's going to be too terribly involved. The first thing we're going to need to do is to actually remove it from the ceiling. And on these units, it's actually quite easy to do. It's best to have the sun visor either down or out of the way because it does interfere with it. It's just a matter of grasping it from the back and give it a nice little pull. This one has a sunroof. I don't know if the other models do or not, but it's just a matter of pulling back the trim to the sunroof. The whole thing will fall, and hopefully you can see this on the video. Not quite sure if you can or not, but I'm trying to line it up with the lens. The front's held in with these two clips, and the back just has this lip that slides under the molding for the sunroof to hold the back in. Now, about removing, this is the connector to the sunroof, and it's a matter of basically putting the screwdriver in the slot and prying it up ever so slightly. Do the same thing with the other side. Sometimes you got to go back and forth a couple times before it actually lets go. Hopefully my hand is not in the way for you here. Pry it up just a little bit. Pop the other side loose. And I'm doing this with the wrong hand pointed the wrong direction, so that's why it's not coming out as well as I'd hoped. There we go. Now I got both sides loose, so I can just simply unplug that. Now to unplug the connector, it's just got a tab you can push down, and then actually the whole thing unplugs occasionally. But there, the whole unit is out of the vehicle now. Okay, now to get this unit out of the plastic housing that it's in, it looks pretty straightforward that you could just take out the 3 screws right here and remove the compass temperature display, but that's not the case. The whole thing has to be taken out. This whole plastic area must be completely removed from the back plastic area. So you can start by removing the top screw. These two, you don't have to take these two out yet. So these two that are into the plastic shell, these two in the plastic shell, as well as 1, 2, 3, 4 down here. There's no need to remove these last 2 screws at the very bottom. Okay, so I've taken out 9 screws. The only ones, like I said, that don't need to come out are these 2 right here. At this moment, they don't need to come out. Now, the rest of this will just kind of lift up and it'll slide out. That piece can be set aside. Now that we've got this up and ready to go, these other 2 screws can be taken out. It is a Torx, like I said, it's a T10 size. Once those out, then the whole light assembly and the compass assembly can be taken completely out. At this point, you can disconnect the wiring here, and it's just a matter of unplugging the plug. Next, we have to unsnap the white from the black portion. Okay, now to unsnap it, it's a pretty simple matter of just trying to, I use the corner of the screwdriver tip to push the tab in while prying outward simultaneously. And that corner is released. That corner is released. Once you get, usually the 2 corners, the other side will pop right out. Next, the circuit board can be completely removed from the unit. So here's the circuit board in question. Alright, so here's the circuit board from the compass, and you can see the front and the bottom side. This is where the fluorescent display solders into place on the bottom. There's no actual parts on the bottom. But now one thing that I have noticed here right immediately, whoops, if I can not bump the camera while I'm showing you, is right immediately I've noticed that these two surface mount resistors, and I don't know if I can get it at an angle where you can see it or not, but you can, I think you can probably see that the far end of these resistors is lifted up a little bit because this thing hangs upside down, and I can actually push the resistors back down to the circuit board, and it looks like they probably just used a very thin layer of solder from the factory and they just let go, which tends to happen when there's heat involved. It fatigues the solder over time. So I'm going to go ahead and just resolder those resistors, and we'll see if that gets us back in the display. Okay, so I'm just going to start by adding a little bit of flux to each end of the resistors to help the solder flow a little bit better. Really makes a big difference. And I'll probably go ahead, there's 3 more resistors here, I'll probably go ahead and resolder those at the same time. I've tested the value of these resistors and they all seem to test okay. Hopefully I'm not in the way here and you can see everything that I'm doing. That's just the sound of the flux. And I've got my little dental pick here, and I'm going to add just a little bit of pressure to the end of this as I solder it down, so it gets a good connection to the circuit board. I like to use a little extra solder. This is one of the reasons that they fail in the first place, is they don't use enough solder on the ends of them. That looks much better. I think we're going to get a lot of life out of it now. Alright, that looks much better. Let's go ahead and resolder the other ones at the same time. I've added just a small amount of flux here. And then we're going to add some solder. If you found that your resistors don't want to take the solder, you could always replace them if you wanted to. They are 51 ohms right now. I've had people talk about replacing them with other value resistors. One guy used a 68 ohm resistor to have a little bit more voltage drop. I think he was trying to get his display to not be quite as bright. So anyhow, you can certainly order some 51 ohm resistors from, you could find them on eBay, DigiKey, Mauser, Newark Electronics. There's plenty of other places that you could get these resistors from. Even you might find some at Radio Shack. Probably not in the store, that's an odd value. You would probably find a 47 ohm resistor in Radio Shack. So let's go ahead and I'm not going to put it all back in the cradle yet. I want to plug it in and see if it actually works first. Okay, so here's the unit. I've got it just plugged in. You can see it just dangling here. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the key on. You can see that it lights up. And it's telling me 88 degrees west, because I don't know exactly what direction I have it pointed here. But anyhow, you can see that replacing those resistors did make a difference. Or resoldering the resistors, I should say. Okay, so I have the circuit board snapped back into the black and the white plastic housing. Make sure that when you do snap these in, that these all line up, especially across the bottom. Sometimes one of these little switches for the lights may not allow it to seat properly. You may have to fiddle with the switch a little bit. One other thing upon reassembly, if you haven't changed your bulbs, you might want to change them right now for your lamps. Because all this motion may cause them to want to go out. Now, As far as reassembling this unit, and this is a mistake I made when I first went to put it back together, there's two tabs right here, and those two tabs have to fit into these two slots. So if you're just really quickly putting it back together, you may miss that, but these have to go in first. Once the tabs go in, then it allows it to seat much easier. The temperature housing and everything goes up on top. Right here, the white should be up on top. And all this needs to be reassembled before you begin to put it back into the, on my vehicle, the brown plastic housing. So these go in first. And so that way your module and everything, make sure, that, like I didn't just do, make sure that tab, this tab has to be underneath that. So I missed that, but you can do that quite easily without any damage. You can actually just pull it up and snap it under. If it feels like it's going to be too much force, don't worry about it. You don't want to risk breaking it. The next thing is you can snap the wire back through the little holder here, maybe. There we go. The plug plugs in. It only plugs in one way, unless you flipped it over inadvertently and it would plug in backwards, but just make sure that the wiring goes across the top through the holder like that. Now it's ready to go back into the plastic housing, in my case the brown plastic housing. Just a quick note, as I'm putting this all back together, I wanted to let you know I did some quick calculations on the resistor values. With the vehicle running, which is at the highest voltage, there seems to be about 4.5 volts, actually 4.4 volts across the resistors of 51 ohms. And so if you do the math real quickly, it comes out to be 0.376 watts dissipated per resistor. So if you were going to replace these resistors with standard resistors, I would definitely go with a 1/2 watt resistor instead of a 1/4 watt. The 1/4 watt's just going to be taxed a little bit too much. So you would definitely want to go with 2 of the 51 ohm 1/2 watt resistors. So I'm going to go ahead and put the screws back in it, mount it back up in the vehicle, and I will show you the end result. Okay, so got it all ready to go here. My unit's all reassembled. Next I'm going to go ahead and plug the connector back into it. It actually snaps into this little groove. And the next thing is to get this connector plugged back in. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Make sure it goes on there till it latches. There we go, and it just locks up into place like that. This piece of trim is what actually holds the back half from flopping out. Put the key in it. Hopefully there's not too much glare. You can see what's going on. It says 88 degrees and east, and that is correct. I am facing east. Now to calibrate this one, I'm trying to remember, you hold the button down, and that is correct. I'm in 4. And I don't know how you change it. We'll just turn the key off and turn it back on. And we use English here, 88 degrees, facing east. Everybody, thank you for watching. I hope with your help we can keep these things out of the junkyard and out of the scrap heap. Like I say on my electronic repairs, out of the landfill and out of the recycle bin, but that's not quite the case here. Once again, remember, you can follow me on Twitter at NorCal715. I do try to answer your questions, your comments as much as I possibly can, but unfortunately I can't answer every one. Everybody have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.